LocoElephante here, and welcome to episode 10 of the Every Way to Win SSBM podcast, where we chat with the very best Melee players to ever do it, as well as esport industry leaders as they share their passion and provide motivation and actionable insight to help you bring your game to the next level. Today's guest is a Luigi and Captain Falcon main, one of the most friendly and welcoming smashers in the community, Ammon Cawmaster Styles. Cawmaster, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you, Blake. Seriously appreciate the time.
So to kick things off, please tell us a little bit about your background in Melee and give us a glimpse into your personal life.
Yeah, sure. So as far as my personal life goes, let's see here. Just a very brief background. I grew up out in a very small city, more like a town. It's called Sultan, Washington, about an hour northeast of Seattle, Washington. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of farmland, not a lot of people. So something interesting about myself is I grew up with, I have 7 siblings, and we kind of live out, like I said, kind of out in the boonies. And so I grew up playing a lot of video games because there's not much else to do out here. It's Washington State, Western Washington, so there's a lot of rain, a lot of cold weather, and so basically, video games became a really strong hobby or interest of mine very early on, and kind of what added to that is just I've always, I guess, I don't know whether it's because of the video games or they probably influenced it in one way or another, but I guess I always felt like video games kind of helped me develop my imagination and let me, just be a lot more expressive and experience, I don't know. It was very, as a kid, I basically learned to read playing video games. And, I don't know. They have they have a very close place in my heart. As far as silly as it sounds.
Other than Melee, can you give me like a top 3, top 5 other favorite video games you played?
Oh man, great question. Yeah, I'd say as far as influential games, I fell in love with Dance Dance Revolution when I was 16, 17. I played that game constantly. Definitely considered going competitive with it as well, but never quite made it to that stage just because I got into Melee at the same time. And so, but yeah, Dance Dance Revolution, I would say number one. Maybe Legend of Mana is an old PS RPG, just really phenomenal graphics and storyline and music especially. And let's see, a third one would probably be, honestly, a third one would be hard to say, but
Was that Legend of Mana?
Yeah, Legend of Mana. It's the sequel to Secret of Mana, the old classic SNES RPG from Squaresoft.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, it's kind of obscure, man, but yeah, if you check it out, it's a really solid game.
All right, so going to Melee now, what led you to pick your current mains?
Okay, yeah, great question. So I chose Luigi when I was when Smash 64 first came out. Like I said, I have a bunch of brothers, and so we kind of all got into it at the same time. And from what I remember, honestly, my memory is a little blurry going that far back, but I seem to remember that my older brother took Mario, he chose Mario as a character before I could make that decision. And so I decided to go with Luigi because I love the Mario Brothers. And and once I started playing Luigi, I just felt like his aerial based movement, or his aerials in general, were just super basic and fun to use. And so I stuck with Luigi for a very long time. But yeah, it's definitely the aerial movement, or an aerial based character that really drew me in, because I've always loved the the physics of the Smash games and how you can move around in the air and how you can space all your attacks really precisely. So I think that's what really kept me with Luigi until Melee, of course, when that was a whole different. Once I learned about wave dashing, that was a whole different ball game that just deepened my love for the character by leaps and bounds.
Is there anything specific that drew you to Captain Falcon other than him being just a freaking awesome character to play?
Good question. I mean, yeah, that's definitely the primary reason, all summed up in a nutshell. I think, but and I think you can hear this kind of as a general consensus among a lot of players in the Melee community. But Captain Falcon for me kind of embodies the he embodies a lot of what's possible as far as the physics of the game, like just the way you can play Captain Falcon, the tech that you can accomplish with him, just really like magnifies and emphasizes all the possibilities as far as movement options and like just a lot of options in general that Melee allows a person to be able to do if they get good enough. And so Falcon just once I got once I like really kind of mastered most of Luigi's technique, then Falcon just became like a fascination to me because of how much more stuff that I could learn with Falcon, and like I'm still learning a ton with him. But yeah, it's just yeah, I'd definitely say it was the fact that there's just a ton of stuff that I hadn't learned with Falcon yet that just and the way he moves around in the air just it's I could play Falcon by myself on a single player on a map with no computers or anything like that for hours and be totally happy. In fact, I've done that. That's how I spent most of my college years because I didn't have anybody else to play with. But yeah, so that's why.
Cawmaster is a very interesting tag. Is there a story behind it?
I, Here's one I wish I could tell you. There's an interesting story, Blake, but there unfortunately really isn't because I was about 13 or 14 years old when I made the name, and it was based off of an old Nickelodeon TV show called Kablam. So I just took the Ka out of the Kablam show, and I figured I wanted to become a Master Luigi, and kind of threw it all together, and Ka Master came out of it. Well, originally it was Luigi Ka Master, but I kind of cut out the Luigi after it became a mouthful so many times, saying it over and over.
And then it just stuck.
That's right. I just stuck from there.
Please share the story of your favorite Melee related experience and why it was so special.
Ooh, that is a very tough decision. If I were, I really I couldn't give you a specific experience in general, just because there's been the reason why I've played the game for over a decade competitively is because I've had so many good experiences with it. I would say I would like to, I guess, just I mean, basically, I can tell you that I guess I can at least like compartmentalize or generalize the experiences into the funnest experiences I've had and the most meaningful experiences I've had playing Melee competitively would be getting to know, much like you said, getting to know players in the community that I didn't know about who are, like phenomenal players. They have phenomenal skill in the game. Not only that, they're just really, really down to earth, chill people. And so, yeah, getting to play with those people and realizing that there are people that they actually have the same understanding and skill that I do, like after years of playing the game and developing my skill set and all that stuff that comes with tons of practice. It's just really phenomenal. It's an incredibly unique experience to meet those other people in that same situation as you are and get to know them just as on a friendly basis. It's really phenomenal. But other than that, if I were to give you like I would like to give you like a recent experience, like a specific experience related to competitive Melee. I guess like And so I'd say just recently at Dome Park on the Grass 2018, I made it into top 8. So, and that's like, I wouldn't consider it a national size tournament, but it's like a semi-major, or that's probably what I consider it. But yeah, so getting to the top 8 and having the Washington community there behind me, kind of cheering me on, that was a really, really cool experience. Definitely unlike all almost all other larger tournaments I've been to in the past several years. So that was awesome. That was a really cool experience.
Yeah, camaraderie is it's a powerful thing. I think when in anything, if you feel like the crowd's behind you and you feel like everyone's got your back, like you can become like superhuman.
Oh yeah, you're very right, my friend. It has a huge influence on play.
What is your favorite matchup to play and why?
Oh, okay. So I won't I'll take too much time going into this one because it can get kind of elaborate. But I would say my favorite matchup, just off the bat at face value, would be Captain Falcon against Marth, just because there's a ton of. I feel like it's a very fair matchup in a lot of ways. Falcon can combo Marth to death. Marth can combo Falcon to death, and the neutral game is semi like balanced and semi straightforward. There's a lot of back and forth exchanges between the two characters that make it really dynamic, really fast paced, but at the same time, it requires a lot of patience and thinking and critical thinking in certain situations and quick reactions in others. So I think it's a really great matchup to learn the fundamentals of the game and to at higher levels experience it's like deeper level mind games and manipulations of your opponent. So I think that's probably like my overall rounded favorite matchup in the game. But if we're talking about competitive matchups, like in tournament, I'll probably prefer, almost hands down, I'll prefer the Luigi Falco matchup to any other matchup, and that is because I feel extremely confident in the matchup because I grew up with Silent Wolf and a few other Falcos around here in Washington. And so I have a ton of matchups since I started playing competitively in 2005, 2006, years of practicing that matchup. And so I just feel super confident in it. And like I love I just love comboing Falco into the ground, into the blast line all day. I just dream about it. So yeah, that's probably my favorite competitive matchup, like tournament wise.
All right, so let's go on that one then, the tournament one, the Luigi versus Falco. What is an area of the Luigi versus Falco matchup you see a lot of Luigi players getting wrong? Can you give us a specific tip as Luigi that can help us in that matchup?
Yeah, sure. Um, let's see here. So one thing that Luigi players definitely, besides the obvious, and this, I like how you worded that question because anybody can say, well, you need to power shield Falco's lasers more, but that really applies to almost any character in the matchup. So to be specific about Luigi Falco, even though power shielding, in my opinion, is extremely crucial if you really want to master the matchup. But as a Luigi specific thing that more Luigi players need to do is Luigi's Nair has phenomenal capability and phenomenal usage that a lot of Luigi players at lower to mid level, even a lot of higher level Luigi players don't use it the way it could be used. So yeah, Luigi's Nair just if you use it in a way where you kind of like you drift around with it around Falco's like short hops and around his lasers, and you use like how to say it. You use the the last part of the hitbox, like just the part that stays out the longest. So if you move around with that part with the Nair, you can actually catch Falco a lot of the time unsuspecting. So like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll start from the top platform, for example, on Battlefield. Falco will be all the way on the bottom. and then like I'll drop through the platform, slowly drift towards Falco or away from Falco even, and then throw out a nair way before Falco's anywhere even near me. And then Falco thinks the nair is going to end before he gets there. And then all of a sudden, that last part of the nair will catch Falco off guard. And that just pops him up. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it pops him up or knocks him over. And what you want in that matchup as Luigi is a knockover on Falco to be able to tech chase, to grab, and other down smashes and other combos. So a lot of Luigis don't really experiment with how useful Luigi's Nair is and how great it is at actually catching Falcos off guard and knocking them down into other setups, into KOs. So I'd say that's a really crucial one that Luigi players should try working on, is getting the Nair setups down in more situations.
That's very sneaky, throwing in that, like using that nair to hit him at the last second, and knowing the Falco wants to go in too. Very sneaky.
That's right.
What is your least favorite matchup to play, and why?
Oh man, my least favorite matchup to play is hands down, 100%, no doubt, Luigi versus Sheik. I hate that matchup with a passion because Sheik is notorious for ruining, basically nullifying all approaches from lower tier characters because they don't have the range or the priority, I guess, on their hitboxes to be able to beat out Sheik's aerials and down smashes and tilts. So yeah, it's the same situation with Luigi, except sometimes it just feels impossible because Luigi's biggest strengths, one of them, is the speed of his wave dash, and so Sheik just throws out one F tilt or one nair, and it destroys Luigi's approaches. No matter how fast or quick your wave dashes are, it just totally nullifies Luigi's best approaches. And then she also has like throw setup or down throw setups into like forward air and up air. And like almost no other characters have guaranteed kill setups on Luigi at almost any percent like Sheik does. So it's just like, yeah, it's I hate that matchup with an undying passion.
Yeah, Sheik is, obviously known as the low tier killer. So yeah,
yes,
I don't know why I expected, a different answer, but yeah, I can totally see that. What is an area of the Luigi Sheik matchup that you see a lot of Luigi players getting wrong? What is a specific tip that you can give Luigi players to help them in that matchup?
Oh man, that's a tough one. But I would say Luigi Sheik, I'd say the biggest mistake I see Luigi's making in that matchup, and myself included on many, many occasions in the past, is they start to get anxious or impatient about how difficult it is to approach Sheik. They just want to go in head on and throw out Luigi's aerials like you can do in certain other matchups with Luigi. But the fact is, every time if you just go head on against Sheik and Luigi, 90% of the time you're going to lose. And so my advice is you have to slow down and you have to think creatively about how to approach Sheik. You have to basically pinpoint the areas of the Sheik, the whatever opponent you're playing. You have to pinpoint whatever areas they have that they're weak in. Especially with Sheik, like the upper backside of her is kind of her weak spot because her up air goes, directly up and her back air goes kind of out and up. But she has this kind of weak spot, this blind spot in the back of her head that you can kind of come down on with like back airs and other aerials as Luigi. So you're a little bit safe in that spot. And so you kind of have to look out for pinpointing these target locations on Sheik. I think that's what Luigi players really need to focus on instead of definitely taking the idea out of their head that they're going to get advantages going head on, because that just almost never works.
Calm Master, we all take a loss at some point, but the important thing is what we learn. Please tell us a story of a time you took a loss in Melee and share a takeaway from that experience.
Yeah, sure. 2017, I think it was Evo 2017. I played against Mewtwo King in winners finals of pools. It was game 3. I won game 1. He won game 2. And he went Marth the third game after going Sheik for 2 games. And I swear I had it in bag because I much prefer the Marth matchup. But anyways, he ended up landing I was ahead like almost I think half the game, and he ended up landing a down air spike on me at like 10% on Pokemon Stadium, and that totally ruined my momentum. And I ended up losing the game, and he won the set. And so that was it sucked, definitely sucked. But at the same time, I learned a couple things. First of all, I guess I learned that I could compete at high levels with some of the top players in the world, like almost game for game, at least for that set. So I learned it really opened my eyes up to the idea, or it helped me see my own potential in as far as like realizing, okay, I actually can take games off these players, and I may actually be able to win sets in the future. And so that was realization or lesson number 1. I felt like I learned. The second lesson was I actually felt like, oh yeah, it was definitely uh, losing the momentum. Like that's honestly just an idea. Uh, it's a common, of course, if you lose a stock early on, you're gonna feel it like mentally. But I guess I just had the idea that I had to I had to overcome that weakness in my mentality, that just because I get gimped, it doesn't mean I have to, curse myself and basically partially throw in the towel mid match. But you have to. It helped me realize that I have to just gather myself better. Even if an unfortunate thing like that happens, I had to just gather myself up better and play and try to bring it back as best you can, because a lot of the times you actually can do it if you just believe you can do it and you really focus. There's countless examples of it happening in Melee, people bringing it back last stock. So I just those were the two lessons I probably learned most.
To expand upon that second point, one thing I really love is, especially when I'm at home and I'm not able to be at the venue, but because you can clearly see in the face cam during the Melee live streams, when someone gets gimped or they SD or something unfortunate happens. Looking at their eyes, looking at their facial expressions, some people are absolutely stone cold, but sometimes you can see, that it got to them. But then sometimes you see what I love, and what I love to see is when that player, just kind of resets the way they're sitting, takes a deep breath, and then resumes with a face of determination. And I think that taking that little bit of time, taking that breath, and resetting yourself, and not throwing in the towel, and not giving up mentally, and not letting it get to you, as hard as it may be, is something that I think is crucial and is huge at any level.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Like, absolutely.
Share a realization or a it just clicked moment that has helped elevate your game.
Okay. Man, that was actually pretty tough. I'd say the hardest. I'll just go ahead and give you like the hardest one that comes on. There's been plenty. Actually, no, I'll give you two quick ones, or one quick one larger one. The quick one was, it took me a few years back, probably 5 or 6 or 7 years back now. Time flies, anyways. When shield dropping was first introduced, or first started being incorporated into the metagame of Melee, it took me. I just had the hardest time getting the hang of it. I was very slow to learn, slow to want to learn the shield drop. I felt like I had like all this practice and other tech skill. My wave dashing, my platform movement was great. I just insisted to myself that it wasn't necessary, and I just got pounded by it again and again and again over the next couple years. And so finally, Uh, I thanks to the help of some very friendly community members in Utah, they took the time to really like show me the benefits of it and show me how to like tips to do it better and to really incorporate it into my gameplay. And so I spent the next year grinding it out, and it's honestly one of, if not my like one of my top favorite techniques just to use in general in the game right now. And so like that was kind of like a big click for me. Like just even though I've been playing for so long, like it just taught me that you can really open your mind at any point in your skill progression to new things that will improve you if you just exert a little bit of mental effort to accept the idea of doing something different than what you always do. That's something I learned over and over again, but that shield dropping experience was a big one. And I guess the other one, real quick, just uh, being a wanting to make melee a big part of my life was a big goal of mine for many years and still is. But a clicked moment was, I guess, when I realized that I don't have to be demanding myself to be placing top 5, top 10 at major tournaments in the world all the time. And if I don't, I'm going to hate myself. I used to do that a lot. And that really took a toll on my self-esteem, on my, just like on my mind. It was really stressful for a long time. And so I just had this click moment about maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4, probably 3 years ago, where I just realized that I just need to enjoy the game more. I can still put a huge amount of effort into wanting to improve, but just the idea that I didn't need to demand myself to win tournaments at a major level, immediately. It was a really important click moment for me because I learned to take a step back from my crazy expectations and to just love the game more for what it is and for the pure aspect of the joy of competing against other people and getting to know other people. So that was like a more, I guess, like a spiritual, deep kind of clicking than this shield dropping one. But those are just two different examples.
Well, and I find the second example especially interesting because I feel, myself included, um, whenever there's any form of competition, ego plays a huge role into it. And if you're unable to drop the ego and play, sure to win, of course, that's what we're all there to do, but also to have fun and not like remove the importance of the fun, only focusing on only, success and winning.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
that is one thing that it seems like to be a common reoccurring theme.
Yes, my friend, you're very wise to observe that. It's a very common.
Share one of your personal habits that has contributed to your success.
Okay. Well, this might, especially after a follow up to that question, it might kind of contradict it a little bit. But, and I never perhaps intended this for it to become a successful habit. But I would say that my habit, I don't, I can honestly say I have never, in all my years of competing, never dropped out of a tournament unless it was for some emergency reason. Neither have I, like intentionally sandbagged at anything other than, at local tournaments. I can't lie. I've definitely tried to like sandbag or help people in my community get better. But at anything other than like larger than a local size tournament at semi majors or like regionals, I've never dropped out of a tournament. I've never sandbagged out of a tournament. Um, and I I think that actually that's a big one for me because I've noticed. Well, at least if you spend time at enough tournaments, you start to realize, especially some of the higher level players, the stress gets to them, and so they drop out or they just start playing some secondary or tertiary characters of theirs because they don't want to take the tournament seriously anymore because it's too stressful or et cetera, et cetera. It happens all the time. And while I can understand that perspective, they just don't want to deal with the stress. The fact is, the more you push yourself to deal with those situations, And the more you give it your all and don't give up when you feel stressed out, the better prepared you're going to be in those situations that inevitably come when you're playing in tournament settings. And so I definitely say my habit of never dropping out of a tournament, or never just going easy mode or going lax in tournament, has definitely helped contribute to my success.
So that's coming from the perspective of a top level player. Now, from the perspective of a lower level player slash a fresh face in the community, one thing that I can tell you without a doubt is that I greatly appreciate when I play against a known player, a top 100 caliber player, and they don't sandbag against me. Sandbagging, I don't think there's anyone out there who enjoys being sandbagged against and then still losing. And if there are people out there who enjoy that, I'm sure they're far and few in between. But I can tell you from my own experience, my very first tournament that I ever went to, I played against in the very first match, I played against the number one from our country, and I was sized up with his Falcon, who's not his main, and then I was sandbagged with his Jigglypuff. And he was doing stuff like resting on the other side of the stage, and taunting me basically. And there was an audience, people were watching, and I felt kind of bad because this is my first tournament. I can't compete at that level, and he's resting at the other side of the stage, and like even that was threatening to me. It's so stupid, but I didn't walk away from it more determined. I walked away from it kind of feeling like, wow, it felt like crap. And in all honesty, I think my friends that were there with me were more upset about it than I was, to be honest. But truth be told, like I don't blame him for sandbagging against me. I could imagine myself being in the position where I might do that too. But and you could use the argument, well, you haven't earned the right to play his main and for him to go all out, and you have to earn that. It's like, okay, cool, that's great. I'm there because I love the game. I'm there because I love the people in the community, and I'm there because I love to compete, and I want to improve myself. So, it is what it is. But the objection of sandbagging coming from you definitely means a lot and is greatly appreciated. So I can tell you that from the perspective of a lower level player. So,
oh yeah,
that's just my 2 cents.
No, I couldn't agree more. I wish there wasn't such a big deal with people people giving up or just going tertiaries and sandbagging. It's sad that happens so often in the community.
If you could go back in time and speak briefly with a younger, less experienced you and give that younger you one piece of advice regarding competitive Melee, what would that piece of advice be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would give myself, I guess, I would give myself some very practical advice in this situation, because later on down the road, I've realized how important some practical things are that I overlooked in my enthusiasm for just playing the game. And I would say, go force yourself to go out and grind out matchups and situations that I wasn't comfortable in, or I'm not comfortable in, or character matchups that I don't do well in. I would definitely exert myself very strongly to take the time to go out and play with anybody in the community who I might be able to get practice in those matchups with, whether by net play or whatever means I can, to get practice against characters that I lack in experience, because that is actually very crucial at higher levels and any level, honestly. And that's just never something I made a very consistent effort to do. I still don't, honestly, unfortunately. But that's that is a very good piece of advice I think that I would give my former self,
That is
to get that,
absolutely.
get those weaknesses down.
That is an excellent piece of advice. What do
Thank you,
people
my friend.
never ask you that you wish they did?
Ooh, okay, this one, yeah, it's a thinker. I would say, um, I wish more people would ask me if playing a character that isn't top tier is something worth pursuing? I wish people would ask me that more often. That's one question I wish I would have gotten more often.
And what is the answer to that question?
Yeah, great question. I'd
That's
say
yours. Yeah.
um, I'd say that the answer is absolutely if you love the character and if you love the game. If you don't love the game and you don't particularly love the character, or you're just playing it for novelty's sake, then I definitely don't recommend you pursue that path because it's going to be a long, hard road. And so, myself, having played a mid-tier character for so many years, and I, it can still be an extremely challenging uh, road for me at high level tournaments, stuff like that. But it's, I would say, if you love the character, it's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it just because um, I don't know, you get to explore an area of the game that very few other people ever get to experience because those other characters are generally known to be better characters, and so nobody takes the time, or at least relatively nobody takes the time to really explore what those characters are capable of. And so if you choose to pursue that route, if you love the character enough, then you'll have a really good time, and you'll find a lot of stuff that people never knew about, and you'll basically be playing a totally different game in a lot of small senses of the word, against your opponents, which gives you a huge advantage. And it's just really cool to know that you have this exclusive knowledge because you've chosen to pursue the route that wasn't so obvious to so many other people. So I think it's absolutely worth it if you really love the character.
And what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Ooh, great question. Um, uh, it was probably from another. I'll give this another practical shot. Best advice I ever received was from Fat Goku from Oregon. He he took about a good 20 minutes to talk about the importance of simply grinding out, practicing technique in the game, and practicing situations in the game, and practicing tech skill, practicing simple things. He talked to me about how basically like how StarCraft players are known to play, like hours and hours upon grinding, and like that's like standard operating procedure for a professional StarCraft team. And he's just basically went on to say how dumbfounded he was that how little practice melee players actually give the game. And so that really hit me, even me as a veteran of playing melee for so many years, because I I still recognize that the need to practice and to grind out matchups, as boring as it sounds, there's a lot of negative connotation behind grinding, like, oh, you're just doing it because you want to win, yada yada yada. But the truth is, grinding out things in the game can be extremely rewarding, extremely beneficial, and it's what's probably going to push you forward most as far as your tournament results go. And it's just generally overlooked a lot of the time. People don't want to spend the time doing it, but it's super worth it if you actually take time to grind out certain stuff in the game.
Calmaster, thank you for your time and for sharing with us your insight into the game that we all love, and for giving us tips to help us improve. Let's end today with a final thought, the best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say till next time.
Awesome. Yeah. The best way to connect with me is just probably Twitter, Luigi_Calmaster. That's my Twitter handle. A final thought is competitive melee is not an easy thing to get into at this point. But that being said, you should never get into something just because you want to become great at it. You should, if you really want to get into melee, you should do it because you love the core of the game, how the game plays. You should try to develop a love for as many aspects of the game as you can, and let that carry you into, okay, this is why I want to get good, because the game itself is enjoyable to me and it's fun to learn about all the things I can become capable of doing, rather than I just want to win tournaments. So that would be my final thought. And thank you so much for having me, Blake. I really appreciate it.
And that's today's episode of the Every Way to Win SSBM podcast. Don't forget to join us next time, and thank you for listening.